Two economic papers find that U.S. fertility rates have fallen 22% since 2007, the exact same year the iPhone launched, and data connecting smartphone access to birth rate declines is surprisingly airtight. Gen Z has invented a new term for opting out of dating entirely because it costs too much, and a former Air Canada captain flew more than 900 flights, carrying tens of thousands of passengers over 16 years, allegedly without ever actually having the license required to do it. Politics is loud. It takes up all the air in the room. While everyone else was staring at that messed up situation, a bunch of other things happened. I'm Keith Conrad, and this is News Side Quest. Two new papers published this week by the National Bureau of Economic Research are making a serious case for something that sounds like a headline joke. The smartphone is a significant contributor to the global collapse in birth rates. The methodology on the first paper is clever. Middlebury College economist Caitlin Myers and her student Ezekiel Hooper, which is a great name, noted that until 2011, iPhones were only available on AT&T's network. So they compared U.S. counties with near-universal AT&T coverage to those with little or none during those years, essentially a natural experiment in smartphone access. They found that access to the iPhone correlated with reductions in births by 4.5 to 8% among late teens and 3.2 to 6.6% among 20 to 24-year-olds. There were also smaller but statistically significant declines in older age groups. The second paper from the University of Cincinnati looked at 128 countries with fundamentally different healthcare systems, welfare structures, religions, and economic conditions. They found the same pattern across all of them. Birth rate declines accelerated once smartphones became widely available. Their conclusion? This points to a global common technology shock. The mechanism the researchers point to is behavioral. Increased smartphone use is associated with reduced in-person socialization and reduced sexual activity. The phone isn't preventing births directly, it's displacing the time and attention that used to go towards those sorts of things. This is somewhat surprising since smartphones seem to be basically the only way people meet and interact with anyone at this point. Dating apps were supposed to make connecting easier, and they did for some people. But what the research suggests is that the net effect of putting a smartphone in everyone's pocket, including everything else it does to attention, time, sleep, and social behavior, is a reduction in the kind of human proximity that leads to, creating families. Has your phone ever genuinely gotten in the way of a real human connection, and did you notice it in the moment or only looking back on it now?
Who are you texting 50 times a day?
IDK, my BFF Joe.
Fortune published a piece this week on a trend that has a funny name and a serious economic engine behind it. Solo maxing, from maxing, the internet slang for maximizing something, because literally everything is maxing now, is a deliberate choice to stay single, framed not as loneliness or resignation, but as a rational optimization of time, money, and emotional bandwidth. The economics driving it are real. The average all-in cost of a date in the U.S., including dinner, drinks, transportation, and pre-date grooming, well, that's an interesting category, has hit $189, up 12.5% from a year ago. Gen Z specifically reports spending $205 per date, up from $194 last year. Millennials now spend $252 per outing, a 32% jump year over year. One expert calculated that if a young adult needs an average of 20 dates to find a long-term partner, the financial barrier to entry for a relationship is roughly $4,100 before anything actually begins. Dating apps are certainly feeling it. Match Group, which owns Tinder and Hinge, and Match presumably, reported declining revenue. Bumble's stock has dropped significantly. The apps that were supposed to democratize meeting people are now charging premium subscription fees that a lot of young people simply won't pay. Now, of course, there's two sides to every coin. On the liberating side, 51% of solo maxers surveyed said independence has become more important to them over the past 3 years. On the worried side, one relationship expert told Fortune that solo maxing tries to reframe or justify an economic constraint as a lifestyle choice, and that studies show loneliness and isolation from not having a partner carry as much health risk as long-term smoking. This is avoidance dressed up as self-care, they said. This isn't going to help the birth rate either. The same economic pressure is doing two things simultaneously, making smartphones the primary social infrastructure and making the dates those smartphones enable too expensive to go on. The system is producing its own contraception. What's your best economical date idea? Not dinner and drinks for $200. The thing that's actually fun, creates a connection, and doesn't require a financial strategy to actually do. I'm collecting these and plan to share them. A couple weeks ago, for our legit anniversary, after we took a trip for our unofficial anniversary, Misty and I went to lunch in the city and then went to Lincoln Park Zoo. Why? Because it's free, that's why. We're romantics.
Singles life is great, Homer. I can do whatever I want. Today I drank a beer in the bathroom.
The one down the hall.
Yeah, and another great thing, you get your own bed. I sleep in a racing car. Do you?
I sleep in a big bed with my wife.
Jeffrey Wall is 59 years old from Ontario. He joined Air Canada in 1998 as a first officer and was promoted to captain in 2009. He flew Boeing 767s, 777s, and 787s, among the largest commercial aircraft in the world, on domestic and international routes out of Pearson International Airport until his retirement last year. Peel Regional Police alleged that when Wall was promoted to captain in 2009, he didn't hold the airline transport pilot license required to command commercial passenger aircraft. Rather than obtaining the correct license, he allegedly used forged documents to misrepresent his credentials to both Air Canada and Transport Canada for the next 16 years. You know, you get a little behind, the mail starts piling up, and before you know it, you've been flying without a license for 16 years. When anomalies were detected during a routine evaluation at Pearson in March 2025, police allege he filed a false report claiming his documents had been stolen. A report the investigation found was fabricated. He was arrested June 1st and now faces 7 criminal charges, including fraud over $5,000, uttering forged documents, and public mischief. The investigation is called Project Icarus, which is a really cool name. The police deputy chief put it plainly, quote, "This is similar to a doctor that is licensed to practice family medicine but is doing brain surgery," end quote. Wall allegedly flew more than 900 flights, carrying tens of thousands of passengers over 16 years. Air Canada insists safety was not compromised because all pilots undergo mandatory recurrent flight checks every 6 months, regardless of licensing status, meaning Wall's actual flying ability was regularly assessed even if his credentials were fraudulent. The airline says it voluntarily reported the matter to Transport Canada once discovered. So I laugh, but this isn't a paperwork oversight. This is alleged deliberate fraud sustained over 16 years with forged documents and a cover-up attempt when it was finally detected. I forgot to put my new license plate sticker on my car for 5 months. I had the sticker, everything was paid and current. It just sat in the glove compartment and I just didn't put it on for 5 months. It's not fraud, that's just the universal experience of administrative tasks that keep not happening. What's the thing that got away from you for way longer than you ever intended? I'm guessing that this pilot probably intended to resolve the matter and just never did. Not 16 years, not a federal crime. Just the thing on your list that somehow became a much bigger gap than you planned.
You ever been in a cockpit before?
No, sir, I've never been up in a plane before.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Episode 8 of the Titanic series on side quests covers the sinking itself. If you've been following the series, this is the one you definitely want to listen to. It's been building towards this the whole time. If you haven't started yet, this is a good week to go back to the beginning. There's a free condensed version for everyone, extended cut for paid subscribers. Find side quests wherever you get your podcasts and at newsidequest.com.
Would you like to know more?
A man in Texas used a fake boarding pass to get through TSA and board a United flight in Los Angeles. He was eventually identified and removed. It's genuinely hard to believe that this is actually still possible given the state of airport security these days. Just something to keep in mind the next time you're standing in the TSA line for an hour. The system has gaps, apparently significant ones.
Get off my plane.
Researchers found woolly mammoth DNA preserved in ancient frozen squirrel feces. The droppings, thousands of years old, contain genetic material from hundreds of species, including the mammoth, suggesting squirrels were eating or encountered mammoth remains. It's a headline I didn't expect to encounter in 2026. I want to add that frozen squirrel poo as an archaeological archive is a research direction that deserves whatever funding it needs.
That is one big pile of shit.
A Florida man was arrested for burglary while on his way to court to face charges for a different burglary. He was caught in the act before reaching the courthouse. This guy might want to consider a different career path. The skills he has are just not translating to success in this particular field. At minimum, the timing suggests a need for better scheduling.
Take him away, boys.
Hey, I'm the chief here. Take him away, toys.
What'd you say, Chief?
A pepper shortage may be coming for hot sauce, with several major producers warning that a combination of drought, supply chain issues, and surging demand has created a meaningful gap between available pepper supplies and what hot sauce manufacturers actually need. At this point, it would be easier to list the things that aren't going through some kind of shortage. That list is getting shorter, perhaps ironically.
No, that's a bit of a problem.
That's it for News Side Quest. 3 questions out there for your consideration. Whether your phone has ever gotten in the way of a real connection, and whether you noticed. Your best economical date idea, because I'm collecting them, and your version of the license plate sticker, the thing that got away from you longer than you intended. Email me at newsidequest@gmail.com or hit me up in the Substack comments. See you tomorrow.